What's happening, guys? My name is Jamie, this is the Norwich Reptile Shed, and in this video I'm going to be doing something slightly different. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll probably understand that we're making a name for ourselves here on creating big custom DIY reptile enclosures. And this is kind of a crossover between that and a care guide. Now there's one species of reptile that I keep that kind of grinds my gears a bit when you look at care guides and you read the sort of minimum requirements. It's not royal pythons, it's my crested geckos. So if you still look at care guides that are fairly recent, there's still a lot of talk of using what in America would be considered a 20-gallon tall terrarium, and as far as I'm aware I think that allows for 16 inches of climbing space. No heating, room temperature's fine, no UVB lighting. So I'm going to show you how I keep mine, and I'm going to try and do a care guide that steps it up a notch. We're going to talk about what we can provide for them and enjoy them a little bit better, give them space, use facts from websites such as Weatherspark or the Dave Kaufman video where he goes and actually finds them in the wild. We've got physical evidence seeing how these guys live in the wild. So without further ado, let's go into the house where I keep my cresties. Okay, so this is my Cresty Viv. It's not perfect. It's not perfect by any means. If you give me a few minutes, I'll explain what I've done to make this vivarium look like this, why it looks like this, and what I've based it on as well. And we will try and spot a Cresty. In fact, easy. There's one right there, hanging out on this philodendron. Ooh. Under UVB lighting. So let's get cracking. Okay, so first things first, the size. This is a 3 foot long or 90 centimetre long by 90 centimetre high by 45 centimetre deep wooden vivarium. This is the cheapest way in my mind to make a vivarium this size for them. It does require messing about, it does require a lot of DIY work. None of it is out of reach for anyone with a few basic tools. There's a few things that I've done to this that I will always do to these vivariums, and I've actually got two in the lounge that I've treated identical, and then in the centre I've got the same size but in a Exo Terra, which is twice the price. As I said, this is a wooden vivarium and I've waterproofed it. I've got videos on waterproofing the vivariums. It's exactly the same as how I do my plywood ones in the reptile shed. And then what I've done is I've added cocoa core matting on the sides, and I've done a custom background. You don't have to do that. You can add this stuff on the side with silicone and it will look fine if you get plants growing up a bit. But what's important here is the actual size. Now, this is about 3 times the size that is recommended online for a crested gecko, and I've had these geckos for just over 5 years now, and of quite a few of those years they've spent in this, and I can guarantee every night they use every inch of this enclosure. So these guys come from New Caledonia, and it doesn't take a lot to do some research. There's YouTube videos out there showing these guys in the wild in New Caledonia, and there's also a website that I use all the time called Weatherspark, and we can just type in a country, a city, whatever, and it will give us temperatures, temperature fluctuations, humidity, rainfall, anything we need to create the environment for these guys. So after looking at that, we can see that in the hot season, so they have a hot season and they'll reach 27 degrees on that island, on up to 29 degrees I believe on that island, and in the cooler seasons they get down to mid 20s, low 20s. The low 20s is what we keep these at room temperature. That's all the time. So if we look at the graph, we can see that these guys actually rarely see room temperature, even in like the low end of the graph. It's not that far off of room temperature, let alone the hot season. So what should we do? I think we should be keeping these guys at slightly warmer than room temperature, and it's not hard to do that. We can add a dome fixture with either a deep heat projector or a halogen heat lamp if we needed to. Needs to be on a thermostat, so I've actually got a deep heat projector on a thermostat, and that's just keeping this Viv running over at about 27 degrees. Now I'm going to get fluctuations because of the room temperature in here as well, and that just helps keep this thing natural. I've got the thermostat on 24/7, so the nighttime and the daytime temperatures don't differ too much according to the YouTube videos, to the weather spark. So keeping that on 24/7 and not allowing this thing to drop down to, you know, 19, 18 degrees Celsius, it seems to be working absolutely fine with these guys. So as you can see as well, I've planted this up with natural real plants, naturalistic style. So I've included some philodendrons in there. It's a chunky philodendron. You can see it takes a beating from these guys. They hang from it all day. And then just to kind of bush out, this is quite a new addition. And then to bush out, I've got this aquatica plant as well. So and I'm just going to allow that to bush out this whole corner here. Obviously it's trial and error, and it all depends on the lighting as well. But from what I saw in the wild, these guys aren't living in wet, humid, well, they are humid, but they're not wet, saturated forests. So my floor is quite dry on the surface. I've got some old leaf litter in here. The substrate in here, I've gone for a cocoa fibre, peat moss, sand, leaf litter, sphagnum moss mix. Try and keep the plants growing. But I've actually, well, it's working pretty well for that philodendron back there, but I've actually got this one still in its pot back there. But the floor is dry, and I've got a spray system in here as well, but I don't keep this thing soaking wet. I've got plenty of hides in here. Now that's a big thing. So we've got a little coconut hanging down in here. I've got a cork tube running the full length of that, which is accessible from both ends. And then obviously I've got coverage as well with all my leaves. But as you can see from this guy, that's every day, by the way. Every single day there is there's either one of the two girls in here hanging out in that spot. So they're not as shy as people make them out to be, but they've got plenty of leaf cover in there, and then the other one is in there somewhere, but obviously it's probably in this cork tube here. But that is it's very important to give these guys some places to hide as well as places to climb. So I've actually gone slightly different with this. We've gone vertical branches to try and make it look a little bit more natural. I've used this birch here and I've just mounted it so it's all vertical, and they jump around on that all night, which is really cool. Next up is my lighting. So as you can see up there, I've got an Arcadia shade dweller. That provides ample UVB lighting in here. So I haven't gone mad with the UVB in there. That's actually a 7% tube. And then I've also got in here as well, I've got an aquarium LED light there, which is just giving a little bit of light to the plants. What I didn't want to do in here was really overpower the lighting. Obviously they come from an area that is sunny, but they can reach, you know, right down to the ground. They can get nice shady spots, which is what I've created here. So this is almost pitch black back down here, which is perfect. It means they can hide down here, but then as they come further up, it gets brighter. My plants obviously absorb some of that as well. So I haven't gone with Reptile lighting up there. I've gone with quite a dim, cheap aquarium lamp So yeah, that's my lighting in there. Next up is my humidity. Now I've got these guys hooked up to a sprayer which actually feeds all three of mine, and this doesn't get tons and tons of water sprayed in here, but twice a day for 1 minute it gets a spray down. As we can see by the floor, it's obviously not completely soaking the Viv, but it's putting water on all the leaves, which is helping these guys drink. They drink from the leaves every morning, so that's an optional extra, definitely. You can do misting by hand, that's fine. In the wild, the fluctuations from the humidity is crazy. They'll go up to 80% during like a wet kind of season, and then they'll dip right down to like the low 20%. So that probably helps them be so tolerant in captivity. But we can provide, obviously, mid-range, slightly higher. I go for a bit higher, which is why I've obviously got that in there, and that takes away any of me forgetting to spray them in the morning or the evening. I do target the plants to water the plants, but I know that thing is keeping up with my spraying when I forget. So I think that'll do me for this video, guys. This is just a bit of an overall sort of showing you how I house my crested geckos. As you can see, I've got two girls. There's one of my girls there. You see that? Full towel. They've both got full towels. They've always had more than the minimum amount of space required on care sheets. So is that a telltale sign? I don't know. Just a quick recap then. So I'm providing UV lighting. I'm providing heat from a deep heat projector, and I'm naturalistically planting this thing. Loads of light, loads of shade. So we've got a nice light shade area. We've got temperature variance coming right from the top there. Okay, so I've got my thermostat mounted there, and we've got sort of room temperature on the ground. It's not soaking wet. It resembles what I think looks like a bit like a dry forest in New Caledonia, and the geckos are loving it. So thanks for checking in on this video, guys. I hope this gives you a slightly alternative view on how to house crested geckos. We can display them amazingly with nice big enclosures. We can provide UVB lighting. We can naturalistically plant them. We can make them something that we enjoy. We've just got to follow a few simple rules, and we've just got to do our research. Let me know if there's anything I've missed. Let me know if you're doing the same thing and you've got the same sort of results. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll catch you in the next video.